Oh boy, so many things going on in Jamaica right now. Rubio's visit to Jamaica, a lot of political turmoil, everybody's jumping up and down whichever way. So much drama and other stuff is going on in Jamaica in terms of politics and other stuff. Now, I'm not going to cover those, but I am still going to speak about politics. And what I'm going to go into is what is called the 10 principles of politics. Yes, you hear that correctly. The word principle and politics in the same sentence. But I'm gonna have to do it. And what I want you guys to tell me is, if you any of these principles I got you, do you recognize any of them that's been done to the nation or to any particular person or entity, whether it's from the government or the opposition, throughout the entire existence of so-called independence in 1962 coming up to now? So you can let us know. But you might be thinking, so why is Andrew Holness on the screen? And for those in the diaspora, he's the current Prime Minister of Jamaica. He's got a lot of allegations against him in terms of 28 bank accounts. I can't keep a straight face. 28 bank account, brother. And the thing is, those accounts at the time when they were set up and funds were being transferred, according to the Integrity Commission's report, not my words, no source of income or source of where the funds come from was necessary. No proof of ID, nothing like that. And I'm like, what kind of situation this in the financial sector where the regulators them did that? And then you have the statutory declaration, which apparently he hasn't done for the past 2 or 3 years allegedly, and he's still sitting in government and he's still the Prime Minister of Jamaica. With all of that hasn't made his position untenable. So that's him. So this is the reason why we're going to go to the principle. I'm trying to get through this without laughing. This is crazy. It's not funny, because if I don't laugh, I will cry, to be honest. So then you have Horace Chang. Now Horace Chang he's the National Security Minister. Again, there's a lot of stuff on his name. He doesn't have a good reputation in terms of his perception to the public. We're not talking about the diehard supporters of his government. Those people are not what we're talking about. We're talking about everybody else, okay? Because that's how you make a fair assessment, not on the fans and the stands. You make a fair assessment on those that doesn't have a horse in the race and their perception of you. That's where the real litmus test is. So that's him. And as I say, all of these politicians I'm going to call out and list, it's all perception. Doesn't necessarily mean anything is true. It's all alleged and it's all perceptions, okay? That's just what it is. Except for a few of them who there is some documentary evidence to prove that they did come under some type of questioning one way, form or the other. In terms of Andrew Holness, the Integrity Commission, we've seen the reports. Then we go on to Mia Mottley. Of course, her perception as a politician, and Mia Mottley is the current Prime Minister of Barbados. For her, it's she has a very good positive image. Now I say perception because I don't know her. I'm not familiar with a lot of these Caribbean prime ministers and presidents and so on. So that's that. Now we're moving on to Darrell Vaz. Darrell Vaz is the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport. Or one man can focus on 4 different ministries. I don't think if you have too many eggs, you know what I mean? Too many cooks spoil the broth. If you have too much stuff going on, I don't see how you're going to be able to focus on each one and nail it down. And you understand me? But anyway, it is what it is. Again, he's got some perception of not particularly good in the public eye. He's actually, according to reports, been charged, with bribery and some other stuff. But that was some years ago. And then you have the situation with his dual citizenship with him being an American citizen and Jamaican, but he renounced it since then, obviously, because it's be unconstitutional for him to, in Jamaica, it would be unconstitutional for him to hold another nationality or another citizenship outside of the Commonwealth. And as you know, America is outside of the Commonwealth. If he was within the Commonwealth, then it would be good. But having said that, the optics don't look good anyway for that. So that's his situation. Again, he's been charged but not convicted. So I must stress, although he's been charged for all this stuff, you can go look it up on Wikipedia, he's not been convicted of any charges. So we don't know where that is. So that's his situation in terms of perception. Then there is Delroy Chuck, who lamented that, they should release the illicit 8 because he's fed up of people coming up to him and questioning him about the illicit 8. That's still under wraps, still under secrecy. Of course, as you know, Delroy Chuck is the Minister of Justice. Now, my qualms with this is, again, actually, his perception is not particularly good in the public eye anyway. But for whatever reason, I don't know. But he just doesn't have that reputation from what I gather. But my only question would be, if you have an issue with people coming up to you and questioning you about the illicit 8 who are alleged corrupt politicians, from what I understand, most of them is on the JLP side, if not all of them. My initial logics would point to, rather than go on social media and lament, how you're fed up and frustrated, why don't you lobby your own government and say, listen, we need to table this illicit 8 and release the information because I'm fed up of people coming up to me and asking me about it. He didn't do that. He only come on social media and played a caricature of himself, in my opinion. But then the illicit 8 is still under wraps. So you couldn't be that fed up if you're not willing to pressure your government or your leader of your party in your country in that respect. So that's Delroy Chuck. Then you have what I think is the Grenadian Prime Minister, Dickon Mitchell. He's the Prime Minister of Grenada. I don't know much about him. Again, the perception I've gotten from speaking to people and doing my research is that he's got a good reputation as a politician. Take politicians with a pinch of salt. You know my stance on politicians already. But again, I'm not familiar with a lot of these guys in the Caribbean. So it's all perception. Okay, so we have to bear that in mind. Then we have Kamina Smith. She's the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Again, her reputation is not particularly good. So it is what it is. I don't make the rules. I'm not the one saying this. I stand neutral. I just criticize them when I see them openly do something that I feel needs to be questioned. So moving along, we have, I think, Keith Rowley, who is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Again, I don't know much about him. The perception on him is kind of, some say good, some say bad. I don't really know for sure, not feel familiar with him. But before I go any further, let me just say, in terms of Delroy Chuck, Daryl Vaz, Horace Chang, and Kamina Smith, which I've mentioned earlier, they are all Jamaican politicians. Even though I named the ministries that they head up, they're all Jamaican politicians, just to clarify. Okay, so moving along, we have Luis Abinader. No, Luis Abinader is the president of Dominican Republic. Again, I'm hearing some type of positive perception or image of him. Don't know much about that. Moving right along, we have Pedro Pierluisi. Now, he's the president of, he's the governor of Puerto Rico. Again, I'm not too sure what his perception is. I think I'll just remain neutral on that one because I'm not particularly, abreast with whether he's whatever. So the reason why I'm calling all these guys up is because we're going to go into these principles and I want to focus on politics and the Caribbean as a whole. So there's far more other Caribbean islands, but I can't list them all. I'm just going to list the main ones. And finally, we have Philip Davis, who is the Prime Minister of Bahamas. Now, again, I've heard that, positive things about him in that respect, but I say it's perception and it's people's opinion. It's not mine. So that's where that is. So what we're going to do now, swiftly going on, now that we've sort of outlined that, I want to now jump into the 10 principles of what of politics, which is kind of mind-blowing to me, but it is what it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is just bring up in the background these principles. So there you have it. And then what I'm going to do is remove Philip from the foreground, so we can sort of focus on this. Now, as you can see, the 10 principles, and it lists it from 1 to whatever. So as you can see, the top right hand corner, that box there says number 1. So I'll just go to them quickly. So it's understanding the 10 principles of politics. So it starts number 1, which is, in politics you must understand that nobody has your interest. And I'm like, duh. I think a lot of people can relate to that one. Number 2, it said number 2, it says everybody is chasing their own interests. So if you look at number 1, nobody has your interest, and 2, everybody is chasing their own interests. They're sort of tying to each other. But remember, this is all to do with politics and politicians in that regard. So yeah, that's people in general do that anyway. Where they chase their own interests and they're not really interested in what other people got going on. We live in a sort of a selfish society. We've been that way for quite some time. So we're going on to 3. Dealing with politicians is like sleeping with tigers. You must always have your eyes wide open, which is true, which is why I always say, always question, and then question again when politicians say or do anything. Do not be a fan of politicians. Do not be a supporter of politicians or political party. That is so farcical. I don't understand how people are so regimental in their support. Support your country, brother. I keep saying that, but we see people close ranks and them close them ears and put them head in the sand like ostrich and support a party or a politician, and they end up getting disappointed, and then they come on social media and cry, oh, they put all them, whatever, and they don't get it. But anyway, let's move on. Number 4, in any political equation, there's always someone being used. Well, duh. If you can't find one, then it's you. Well, so this is more to do with people in general. This is not just supporters, This could be any institution, organization, even people that are within the, like all those young people. A lot of people are being used in politics. It's not just something that's targeted solely at, the electorate, so to speak. So moving on to number 5, serving politicians is like being a bandage on a wound. Once the wound is healed, your usefulness ends. Duh. Politicians don't recognize and reward value. They recognize their own need, and you are only as useful as the lifespan of their need for you. And that is so true. But then you could say the same thing for corporate. Corporate operate in a similar way. Some people in general, operate in a similar way, but it's definitely true of politicians. This is why I don't understand why people put them lock, stock, and barrel in a politician. I don't understand how people so dumb and stupid them do it. I'm sorry, I have to call you dumb and stupid. Move on, brother. Number 6, in politics, never wail more than the bereaved. They will get the reward while you inherit their enemies. That is so true. You know what I mean? That is so true. We see that time and time again. Die-hard supporters who rep a color or rep a name, whether it's Brogard or Marky G, and whether it's the orange or the green. And I'm like, what you're doing when you do that, you automatically, it's logical, isn't it? You automatically inherit the enemy on the opposite side. Because, when you feel sorry for them and whatever. So that's that. So we're not dwell upon it. We'll move on fast and quick. In politics, this number 7 now, because we did number 6, didn't we? Yeah. So number 7, understanding, I keep reading the heading over and over again. I need to stop doing that. So number 7, in politics, in any event that other interests conflict with your own interests and you have to choose, always choose yours. Well, yeah, that sounds like a typical politician. Moving on. Number 8, never cross oceans for politicians. You will drown, and the best they will do is give a benevolent speech at your burial, lie to your widow and children, and eat your food. Politicians will never cross the streets for their foot soldiers. So that's something to bear in mind. So again, that would speak out to a lot of these people who, what them say, road, the people that do the marketing and the promotion on behalf of these politicians, and they're on the ground doing the groundwork, moving around, handing out the flyers. There are all the conferences, all the meetings, running up and doing all the most just to whatever. Well, that one applied to Ono. So going on to number 9. Above all, family and health are things you should never use to attack a man. Okay? Politics is never that serious. That's true. I agree with that. Now, number 10 is a strong one. Them end it with a number 10 with a strong one. I'm going to put certain bits in highlights for you. So I say, lastly, to all the youths. So all the youths, whether in the ghetto, uptown, whatever, whether you're at UE, especially because the politicians, them always target the youths, them are UE, innit? Because they want them energy, they want their brain, they're smart, and they really exploit these people. But they say when them nerdy and them naive and them not understand. And a lot of them are wide-eyed for these politicians. Anyway, lastly, to all the youths, it's too risky to sacrifice your career, health, personal character, social capital, and integrity in pursuit of short-term and temporary rewards offered by politicians. No. Unless, of course, you are the one in control and have a long-term game plan. So in other words, and some of you have the long-term game plan, but the thing is, you play a chess and the politician them play a 3D chess. You see? So you might think, I play chess and I just do this for now because later on down the line, this is my game plan. And then when it doesn't pan out for you, you realize, boy, all them do me so. And this is particularly, this number 10 is, I'm not going to call the person's name, but there's a particular person that's come on social media and lamented how they have put their heart and soul and energy and everything else into a particular party and politician to get them for win. And then when time comes for the rewards, them not get none. So, and a lot of these also refer to that. And it is what it is. And I'm sitting there like, duh. I mean, you can't trust politicians no matter what they tell you, say. And not only that, now I see that same person doing the exact same thing that happened to them before. They're doing it again. And there's a saying, if you do the same thing over and over again, you can expect a different result. So that same person is now doing it again, but this time for the opposition party. So, but as I sit back and with the popcorn, not that I'm wishing anything will go tits up for that person or anything like that, but I just can't help but sit back and thinking, wow, but you see, that's just the environment. Some people move in a certain environment and it is what it is. There's no judgment, there's no nothing. It's just commentary from my end. There's no hate, there's no judgment, there's none of that, to be honest. Everybody do your thing. I don't care what party you support. I think all of us should just love each other, respect each other, and try to help each other as fellow Jamaicans. The colors, okay, you can. It's like a football, innit? You support a football team, you support a basketball team. Of course, during the support, you're gonna rep for your team. But it's when the basketball game finish, you don't hate the person. If you see them in a bar, or you see them at a club, or you see them in the park, or you see them in any space, you're not gonna go, there goes the guy who support Arsenal, I'm a Liverpool fan. There goes the guy who support Man United, I'm a Chelsea fan. No, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna say, well, you know what? That's what him support. But right now, it's not about football. It's about people. And I don't know. But it is what it is. Anyway, I just wanted to cover this, and I've done so. So I'll end it here.